Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Fredericksburg, Texas. Today's verse is 1 Peter 5:6. Therefore humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you at the proper time. Now it says therefore, which refers to last week's verse, which we covered over here, which talked about make sure you're humble with one another, because God is opposed to the proud but gives grace to the humble. And think about what this means for the leadership that we follow, that we elect to the church, to Christian organizations, to our country. If we elect proud leaders and God is opposed to them, think of the repercussions on the country, on that organization, on the church. So let's make sure that we're following after humble leaders. That should be the example we should follow. And in that note, think about the example that Jesus gave. Let's have a look at that in Philippians 2:8. Being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient. That's one major way to humble yourself, to the point of death, even death on a cross. That's really humbling yourself. And my friends, that's the point of humility that we have to bring ourselves to, humbling ourselves to death, at least death of the flesh, and putting our ego to death as well. Now, let's look at a practical example that Jesus gives in Luke 14:8. I love this, through verse 11. Jesus says, when you are invited by someone to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for someone more distinguished than you may have been invited by him. And he who invited you both will come to you and say, give your place to this man. And then in disgrace, you proceed to occupy the last place. But when you are invited, go and recline at the last place, so that when the one who has invited you comes, he may say to you, friend, move up higher, and then you will have honor in the sight of all who are at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. And of course, in today's verse, it's at the proper time. It may not be right away. It may not even be in my lifetime. But at the time that God feels it is appropriate, he will do the lifting, not ourselves. He's much better at it anyway. So this makes perfect sense. It's logical. Who can rebut this logic right here? Well, let's look at one other parable, which is a terrific one. That's Luke 18:9 through 14. And he also told this parable to some people who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and viewed others with contempt. And in a church, there should not be this dichotomy of Republicans looking down on Democrats, or vice versa, or rich looking down on poor, or vice versa, or any other kind of dichotomy, black and white, or some cultural thing. It shouldn't be in the church. Everybody should be equal in the sight of God and in the sight of our church as well. Now, verse 10 says, two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee, the other a tax collector, which was kind of thought as a low life back in the day. The Pharisee stood and was praying this to himself, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, swindlers, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector down here. I fast twice a week. I pay tithes of all I get. But the tax collector, standing some distance away, was even unwilling to lift up his eyes to heaven, but was beating his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, the sinner. I tell you, this man, the tax collector, went to his house justified rather than the other, the Pharisee. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. That's the example we need to follow. Back to our main verse. Remember, the hand of God is mighty, and we need to humble ourselves by being obedient to the point of death, loving God more than anyone else or anything else, including our ego. He will lift us up, and that will be glorious. So let's choose to humble ourselves and love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.